Hello everybody, and welcome back. Today I've got for you a real treat. This is one of the most epic games I've ever been involved with, and it's a 4v4 on Adorn River. Now, this is a very old game, and a lot of the things you see here, and a lot of the plays that you see from myself and from other players aren't necessarily representative of how those players are today. This was quite close, I believe, if I can recall correctly. This was quite close after the release of patch 4.4.1, and as we all know, this patch has been out for absolutely ever. So it really does show you how long ago it was. Now, I'm just going to go over to my Palantir quickly, just to show you how I played in this game. Now, you might be looking around and thinking, "Cool, blimey, this is a bit of a strange start. Where's all your outside farms? Where's all your inside farms?" And actually, at this time of playing, it was a long time ago, and at this time I was even more convinced in my no economy start, as I highlight to my allies here, very impressed with myself, that I'm rushing for wargs in a team game. Now, I don't actually recommend this if you would like to play as Isengard, especially in team games, because it is just so risky, and a lot of the time it just doesn't pay off. So we'll see how that works for me in this game. As you see, I'm trying to put on some extremely early pressure to my enemy, who here is Edain. Now, if any of you know Edain players, you might be able to guess who that player is, and his name is so cryptic that I'm sure you're going to find it very difficult to work it out, and his name will probably slip out during the course of this game, so forgive me for that, Edain. Anyway, my first warg has come out, and one of the best things about going for early wargs, even in team games, I mean, it has its disadvantages, but it has its advantages too, and that is every starter unit that your enemy has are swords. Unless, of course, they're Angmar, which are capable of getting pikes. But a lot of the time, even if you're Angmar, people don't get pikes, and you can also target the throwers with cavalry. Now here we see that I'm harassing his farm with my scouts, and I'm just starting to clear up some of his units with his swords, and he's actually forced to make an early tower here. Now, another reason why early cavalry is so good is that a lot of the time players eco start. So as Edain has done here, he's gone for an inside building, and he's gone for all these outside ones. So he hasn't built a barracks, so it's not possible for him to get pikes out yet. However, let's have a look at how much damage this tower does to my units. Really, 2 hits and they're dead. So that was a bit of a mistake by me to push too far into his base, but nevertheless, I have killed some of his units, and I built a farm. So that's how I'm doing. Let's have a look at how my allies are doing. So in the far left, we've got Andres. Now, you've seen him before in a 4v4. He's a very good player. He's played for quite a long time, and I've played many a game with Andres. He's a very nice guy and a very good player. He's got Mordor. I've got Isengard. My other ally, Fëanor, who's another great Edain player. And on the far right, Boran, who again is another great Edain player. So really this team is quite strong. But that's not to say that the enemy team isn't strong, because we've got Adorn, who I haven't played a lot with, but as you see in this game, he is quite a capable player. We've got Edain, who, if anybody has worked out who he is by now, he is one of the best players in Edain, especially in team games. He does admit himself he's not so good in 1v1s, just because he never plays them. We've got Iranian F, Edain's friend, who you may know from a few tournaments, and I do believe is in a few of my videos as well. And in the far right, we've got the legend of this channel, the one, the only, the boy, it's Dimitri. And this, as you can see, is really shows how old this video is, because Dimitri is playing Imladris. Now, if you don't know anything about Dimitri, he used to play Imladris exclusively. I mean, right at the beginning, before Imladris was out, he used to play Lorien exclusively. Then Imladris came out and he used to play them all the time. He since has decided that they're way underpowered, and now he only really plays Mordor. Anyway, I will be focusing mainly on my play, especially in the early game. However, I would like to come out and say right now that I don't play well in this game, in my opinion. I mean, I don't play terribly, but I certainly don't play to my full capabilities, and I make some huge mistakes, and some quite funny mistakes, really, as you'll see as this game progresses. So right now, an advantage, and as we see, there's still not a lot of resources. I think I've collected some of the resources with another warg that I produced, so my eco's not too bad, but I've got no inside buildings, whereas, as you see, the enemy, and I'm sure a lot of my allies, have really gone for quite heavy eco. And I really haven't been able to do that. Now, in the meantime, Andres has done a little push into Edorn here's base. And one of the great things about cavalry is playing against Isengard. Now, the reason for that is because Isengard don't get pikes until they upgrade their Auric Pit to level 2, as Edorn has done here. So really, that is the perfect way to play, to really rush for the Auric Pits if you're going to play against an Isengard player, or any player really that's gone for cavalry. The other option is to get wargs of your own, because they are an anti-cavalry. So here you see, because of the early push of my cavalry on Enad, he's actually gone for cavalry of his own. Now, Gondor cavalry are better, in my opinion, than wargs. Now, that's not to say that in certain situations wargs can't kill Gondor cavalry, and indeed they can, because of that speed boost. If they outnumber them, they can do it extremely well. But wargs really are more of an early to mid-game cavalry unit, whereas Gondor knights really come into their own in the extreme late game. And we might see that progress over here in this match. So, in the meantime, Fëanor, who plays excellently in this match, I'd like to point out, is playing as Angmar. And he's gone for a much more traditional strategy than I have. And in fact, every player in this game has gone for a much more traditional strategy than I have. This was, as I've said, really at the time where I was all about making units and killing as much as I possibly could, rather than, in the extreme early game that is, rather than really pushing for strong economy. As we see here, Andres has gone for Cirith Ungol pikes. Now, that is absolutely excellent, and really that is exactly what we needed to hold this position in the middle, because Danny was starting to... Oh, there we go. I mean, Enad was starting to really do some damage with his cavalry here, and we were really starting to lose the fight, because Edorn had got his pikes out, but Andres hadn't got his out, so I was helping out a little bit against Edorn's infantry with my cavalry, but it wasn't doing too well because of the pikes, whereas Enad was really doing damage against Andres because he had no pikes. Once he had pikes, it evened up a little bit. So, as we see here, Iranian is pushing through with some troops. However, the axe thrower spam is so strong in this patch, and so strong against infantry. However, it's not so good against cavalry, as we see here. Enad coming through, destroying those axe throwers. And also, there is a risk of me losing my starter units, which are the Isengard scouts. However, for me, really, at this point, the Isengard scouts are a bonus. If I can keep them alive, that's great, because they do get better as the match goes on through a number of upgrades that they can get. However, my main strategy in this game was to go for wargs. And as we see here, I've got some wargs out, and I'm making more wargs. So really, the idea for me was to get wargs, get cavalry, as I so often like to do in team games. Now, the reason why cavalry is so good in team games, and here we see, this is exactly what I meant about players not playing to their best, because it's such an old video. An Iranian who is an excellent player, who has excellent hero micro, has left Baragon stranded, and this is one example of why cavalry is so good in any game, 1v1 or team games, is that it can chase down heroes if they are isolated. And yes, another reason why cavalry is so important in team games is because they're so maneuverable. They can come over and help wherever they are needed on the map, almost instantaneously, whereas infantry have to really take time to get over and help your ally, by which time your ally might have suffered significant damage and really set him back in the match. So here we see how good, once again, Mordor are at harassment, and Boran is being very aggressive against Dimitri here, who is losing quite a lot of troops, and really you don't want to lose troops as Imladris, as I've said so many times. However, where are Boran's pikes? He should at least have some Mordor orc pikes. Even better would be the halberdiers of Cirith Ungol, but he's got nothing. And when there's cavalry out in the field in a team game, you have to have pikes with your main army. Otherwise, as we see here, they're just going to get melted by the cavalry. Now, that's not to say that he hasn't thought about that himself, and he has gone for a Kirithungel barracks, and he has got some halberdiers coming out, but it's just too late for this army, and really they're way too isolated. So in that situation, that was probably a mistake by Boran to push so far into the enemy territory, behind the enemy lines really, without pikes. Really cost him almost the entirety of his army. Now, in my opinion, he made a second mistake by going for this outpost. Because, really, can he afford it in the position that he's in? Yes, he had enough money for it, but as I've said before, the position that he's in, he's just lost huge amounts of his army, and there's cavalry bearing down on him, and also Dimitri may start to build up some of his forces, so that really was a huge risk, and we can see if that risk pays off. Now, in I come with my wargs, and as we see, this is why they are anti-cavalry, because they move faster than normal cavalry, and also, Dimitri has no pikes, so once again, another mistake from these players, where they're having army clumps, or one battalion in this case, when there's cavalry on the field and not having pikes to cover them. So really, if you're playing a team game, that is something that it is essential for you to do. Here you see Dimitri has laid down his land, but I had mine recharged and I've put mine down. So really my wars are going to do a bit of damage here. Now let's just move over to see what's going on the other side of the map. And it seems as if Andres is playing very well here. He's got his pikes out, as I said earlier, and he's starting to spam some black Orikai. Now you can only get 3 of those, but of course the Orc spam is up as well. And he's got some heroes out. And it seems like he's really pushed back Edgorn here. And Edgorn seems to be in quite a bit of trouble because, don't forget, this outpost is on our enemy's side of the river. So really they should own this one. Now we own ours on the side of our river because Boran went for it at that point, and I managed to help him out with these walls, pushing back Dimitri's play. So yes, we are probably winning in this position. At least we have the better map control. Now does that mean that we have the better armies? Not necessarily, because as you see here, Enad has gone for all of this cavalry, and really it looks like he's focusing primarily on cavalry, and he's gone for the forged blades. Now, as I've said before, forged blades on cavalry increase the damage to buildings, and wait a second, this is my base. What? He's going to be destroying my... Oh my god. A terrible mistake by Noobfella here is really, and what I'm doing now is what I should have done way before. As soon as you see this cavalry, and especially as soon as you see that they get forged blades, you need to build as many towers as you can, especially if you've gone for such a heavy eco as I have here. So in the early game I went for almost no eco, but now it's the mid game, I focus completely on eco so that I could transition from my early aggressive walk start to really going for a more classical Isengard strategy. However, I didn't get the towers up in time, and Enad has really damaged my resources here. So that is terrible news for me. Now that's 400 each for a 1,200 plus the additional resources it costs to upgrade. So really that was a huge blow, and an excellent base rush by Danny. By Enad there. I'm just going to call him Danny from now on. You must all know who it is by now. So Danny, yes, an excellent base rush there, and really did huge damage to my buildings. And that could have all been avoided if I wasn't such a noob and I had gone for those towers. Now, in the meantime, and I do apologise here if some of the action I miss, and the reason why I might miss some of the action is because there's so much action that goes on in this match. Now, as you've seen here, you might be thinking, good fella, you've said how great this match is, but really it's not that great so far. But actually, it picks up towards the mid game and the late game, and even the early game here hasn't been too bad. I hope you agree with me. So... And here, he must have deleted he must have got 2 barracks there, at least I assume he got 2 barracks, and he must have deleted it either for a resource building or for a siege works. In fact, it must be a resource building that he's going for, because he's got a siege works here. So, an early siege works as well from Boran, so it seems like he wants to be really aggressive in this match, and he's probably thinking that Dimitri, the boy, hasn't played too well here, because he's lost a lot of his units. And he might actually be thinking about starting to siege. Now, sieging in team games is excellent because not only does it keep your enemy pinned down, and by enemy I mean the person opposite to you, as Dimitri's opposite Boran here, it also sometimes forces your enemy's teammates to come and help you. Because if you start to siege, sometimes you can really be in trouble, so they need to be saved. if it's likely that they're going to lose their base, because you really don't want to lose a teammate. That is the worst thing that can happen in a team game. So here we see the Gondor Cavalry, and it's an example of how excellent Gondor Cavalry can be. Now, they haven't got forged blades, heavy armour here. They have got forged blades, they haven't got heavy armour, and they just charge right into pikes, and they didn't really suffer that much damage. Now, the pikes weren't attacking them, and that is something that you really need to do if you see cavalry charging into you. Here, once again, a bit of bad micro there from Edain. His Baragon is quite far out of his army, but I think it pays off for him. I think that micro mistake doesn't have too many repercussions because it seems as if he's pulled him back. Now here, because of the attack that Danny did on my base, really I'm trying to build my eco up again. Now if he hadn't done that, my eco would have been fine and it would have been easily transitioned into more of a late game Isengard. Instead I'm still kind of in the walk phase, which is in my opinion early to mid game. Now, that's not to say that I don't still do some damage, as we see here, trampling over the units. And really here, I make a huge mistake, because look at Baragon here, and look at my wargs. My wargs almost completely surround him, and his pikes are over here. Now, they're Tower Guard pikes, so they're excellent pikes, and really they can kill all of my units, almost. But I had the opportunity to kill Baragon here, and as you see, Fëanor is using his Dormoth, and actually he manages to kill him, and it's a mutual kill there. Dormoth and Baragon go down, but if I had killed Baragon there with my wargs, which I could so easily have done, maybe he could have targeted Aragorn, and we could have got both of those heroes there. So a bit of a micro mistake there from me, and really bad decision making more than anything else. Now in the meantime, Danny is using his cavalry to great effect against Andres, and as you see, he will be microing them around his halberdier pikes, and Danny really is quite good at micro, as we can see in this game. However, thanks to the heroes, thanks to the pikes, thanks to the Black Oryx, Andres has managed to stave off Edgorn and Danny's simultaneous push on his outpost. Now here we see Fëanor attacking with his infantry, and he's starting to surround these Tower Guards. Now Tower Guards are excellent, they have so much armour, but if they get surrounded like anything else, they will suffer a lot of damage. In comes Danny, and he takes out those archers excellently. However, the pikes are there as well, and they will be doing a bit of damage, but thanks to the formation, which I've talked about before in my first ever video, the formation of Gondor Knights increased the armour against pikes, so really they don't suffer too much damage there. Now let's have a look at Danny's base. He's got no barracks, so really his whole plan in this game is to go for complete cavalry, spam, rush, whatever you want to call it. He's basically just getting lots of cavalry. And here you see quite a nice bit of micro here from me and Fëanor working together, where we actually surround Danny's knights, and sometimes if your units are surrounded, then they can't escape. However, I have to pull back because of these upgraded Tower Guards coming in, as well as Aragorn. So here we see how well early heroes can work, and really more than anyone else in this match. I mean, Andres has gone for early heroes as well, but it's slightly different for Mordor because they don't level up through experience as any other faction does. So here we see Edain has gone for some very early heroes, including Aragorn, and they begin to level up, and that's why, as I said before in my last 4v4 video, it really can pay off for you to go for very early heroes. Now look at this, a level 5 Aragorn already. Now that is extremely dangerous. In the meantime, in my base, I've just about started to recover from the attack on the base, but it's not quite a full recovery because, yes, I'm back to where I was, but I should have been in this position about 5 or so minutes ago, whereas everyone else has been developing perfectly fine. That attack on the base from Danny has really set me back, so I'm still almost in the early, or rather the late early game to the early mid game, whereas almost everyone else is starting to approach the late mid game. However, I'm starting to get my heroes out, as we see here. Lurtz and Ugluk come out. So, because there's a bit of a lull in the action, just for now, let's have a look over at some of the Palantirs. Now, something about commentating, especially on replays of team games, is that there are so many Palantirs. There are 8 Palantirs, so really I can't cover everybody's play altogether, but I will just flick through them every now and then when there's not much fighting going on, just so that you have the opportunity, if you'd like to, even pause the video, just to see the powers that people are getting, the way that some good players play as these different factions in team games, and if you have a look in the top right corner, you can see which player I'm currently on as I flick through these Palantirs. So I'm going back to my Palantir for now, just because I know the most about what I did in this game. And here we see really an epic fight start to happen. So this is Boran, and he's kind of isolated here. And he's got all of his units. Now, he has got halberdiers out at this point. However, Dimitri has gone for some of the Blade Masters. Now, someone commented in the previous video that Blade Masters are their favourite units. And really, Blade Masters are good against units without armour. And every battalion of units for Mordor haven't got heavy armour, apart from the summons, which you can get heavy armour through the tribute camp. So here we see how strong Gondor cavalry is. So they're charging in. I mean, there's pikes in this clump, and really, they're not suffering a lot of damage from it, and they're actually killing quite a few units at the same time. So I'm having to bring my wargs over here to try and counter, first of all, the cavalry, which really at this point, because they are upgraded and they have actually got heavy armor, really it's beyond my power to counter this late game Gondor cavalry now with my unupgraded wargs. But I do have the opportunity every now and then to trample some of Dimitri's units. Now really, it seems as if Boran is struggling here, and once again, I don't have the infantry to come over and help him. Now, I have started to pump out some heavy Uruks, but I just haven't got enough. And Fëanor here is needing to protect his mid-outpost. So, just look at all of Boran's units melt here. And once again, the Gondor cavalry is so strong. And it's just charging through pikes at this point, and it's not suffering as much damage as you might think. So some might consider that overpowered, and I have actually made a post in the forums about Gondor cavalry potentially being overpowered, but that was in reference to 1v1s and not necessarily to team games, which play out differently. Now, I have put a beacon down here for my allies to say, oh my god, Iranian is coming in on this fight. So now it's Boran 1 versus 3 with Iranian and Dany and Dimitri coming in with all of their units, and really that is a signal that I'm putting down to say to myself and Fëanor, we really need to come over and help. So here comes Fëanor. I'm going to be coming over soon as well, once I've got a few more units. And we just need to help Boran here, because this is something that is a big feature of team games, is that you really need to help out each other, because if you don't play as one, you're likely to fall. So, yes, the Gondor cavalry is so good, and also it seems that Iranian has decided to go for some tower guard spam, and upgraded tower guards, along with heroes, is one of the most effective tactics you can use as Gondor, and really as any faction in this game. Because the tower guards are just so tanky, and they're not likely to die, and therefore they're going to be there to always protect your heroes so that you can retreat them into the clump. And also it just completely nullifies cavalry, because really you're not going to get cavalry in there, they'll just die. So here we see the fight begins, and once again you see everybody's got upgrades apart from me, and the reason for that was that base rush by Dany, where he's really crippled my economy. Now I'm starting to get the economy back, but I'm once again behind everyone else. So what I'm doing here, what I've decided to do, and I am getting my upgrades out now, is I've decided to just sit back with my archers, and these are the initial scouts, these are my starter units. And they've got the toggle weapon, so I'm just using their archery abilities, and I've just put these guys in Porcupine because I know that the cavalry is going to come in. I've also used Cripple on Aragorn with Lurtz, but really there's no point in charging in there with Lurtz with his sword to actually try and kill Aragorn, because I'm just going to get destroyed by this clump of Gondor. Now he's used Elendil, and it's sending all of our units into a retreat. Now really I should have used War Chant there, because that nullifies fear, but obviously, I'm a giant noob, so I didn't do it. And really, it's not looking good for Boran here, because his units are down. And let's actually just have a... Excuse me. Let's have a quick look at Boran's Palantir here, if we can find it amongst all of these Palantirs, while we watch this epic fight continue. That's Andrus as Mordor, Fëanor as Angmar, and here we go, Boran. So look at this, 200 command points, and this is exactly what I thought it might look like for Boran at this point, because really, where is his army gone? It's just been killed, and it's been killed by the Blade Masters and the Swordsmen of Imladris. It's been killed by the Tower Guards, but above all else, it's been killed by Dany's Gondor cavalry. Now, in the meantime, Andres has been really pulling out for the team, and he's really doing well over on this side. And this is another feature of team games. You might be winning completely a battle on one side, as I believe they are probably winning on this side. At least they were winning while Dany's cavalry was over there. But because Andres is doing so well against Edgorn, it's forced Dany to bring his cavalry over to try and help out Edgorn. Because if he doesn't help him out soon, as we see there's a siege works here, then he's going to start sieging his base, and he really could be in trouble. So he's had to bring his cavalry over, and there are pikes here, but once again, because the Gondor cavalry is so good, it's very unlikely that they're going to lose a lot of units here. And really, the task for us now is to try and kill some of this clump of Gondor tower guards. Now, there's also a little bit of a clump of Imladris units here, but they're a lot more easy to kill, in my opinion, than tower guards, just because tower guards have got so much armour. Now, we can see how many heroes Iranian has got here, and look at the levels. Aragorn level 7 already, and Baragon has got to Boromir, he's got to level 5, and that gives plus 30% armour to all nearby allied units, and plus 30% armour to these tower guards who have excellent base armour. They've got heavy armour, and they can also get plus 50% armour from shield wall formation, so that's why it's so difficult to kill tower guards once they're upgraded and once you've got your heroes out. Baragon level 7. So he's died in this game, but he gained levels before he died. So really, in a team game, even losing heroes isn't that much of a deal. Isn't that much of a big deal, because you can get them back and you can get all those levels back as well. Now Fëanor has moved back over to his base, just in case someone comes in for an attack on his outpost. And in the meantime, it seems as if we're just about clearing up here. Now, actually, I think probably this is a bit of a mistake from Dimitri and Iranian to retreat in this position, because they probably have an overwhelming force because I mean, I've got like maybe 2 or 3 pikes, a few heroes and some archers, whereas Boran has got almost nothing. So really, if I was them, I would have been trying to get that outpost. I'm really trying to put more pressure on the enemy, because as we see over here, also, we're losing on this side of the map now. Now, the middle is reasonably secure for us thanks to Fëanor being over here, but he's realised that actually we need to start winning on the flanks a bit more, because we are losing over here without a doubt, because it's 2v1. And I am going to be bringing my wargs over as quick as I can to try and take the fight back to Edgorn and Dany on this side of the map. And as we see, Fëanor is moving over. Now the pressure has been eased on this flank, because we've managed to push them back a little bit. And this has given the opportunity for Boran to rebuild and really get his command points back up. Now, let's have a little flick through the Palantirs again, and I would just like to note the amount of power points that I've got here, and let's compare that to how many other people have, and in particular, how much Dany has. So we're on Dany here now, and he's got Summon Eagles already. That is 7 power points to get Summon Eagles, and he's got 4 left over. I had 2 tier 1 and 1 tier 2, which is what, 5? So he's got way more than double me, and the reason for that is because of this Gondor cavalry just constantly being all over the map and constantly killing units. So that is something that you have to consider in team games as well, is that sometimes different players can be drastically different in the amount of power points that they got, that they have, I should say. And the reason why they do that is because some players are fighting a lot more than others, while some players might be building up a force, getting ready for a big push. Some might be constantly fighting and therefore constantly generating power points. And as we see, it's a bit of a mix elsewhere on the other Palantirs. Really, the two extremes is me with not a lot of power points because I haven't killed a whole lot, and Dany with just loads and loads of power points because he's killed so much. Now, as we see here, Iranian, he's also gone for these elite guards of the Citadel. Now, these are excellent, and someone did leave a comment in my videos before saying, could you do, or at least talk a little bit about heroic units? And heroic units are excellent. They only really start to become so effective when they level up. At level 1 they're not so great, and also when they're isolated by themselves they're not so great, because you can really target them down if you see them and destroy them quite quickly. But if they're in a clump like this, then it's really hard to destroy them, and also they heal units passively, which is obviously excellent. They're like mobile wells in that sense, so that is probably above all one of the best things about heroic units. Now here we see Fëanor is coming over to protect Andros's outpost, and really it's kind of switched around here between the two Mordor players, whereas before Boran was really suffering because of the teaming that was done against him. Really here Andros is starting to suffer on the complete opposite side of the map, because they're starting to team up against him. And really our team at the moment is just reacting to the opposing team's pushes. So the opposing team is pushing on either flanks, trying to trying to attack on all sides of the map, and we're really just following them around and trying to protect. And the reason why that is happening, probably I'd assume, is that we have better map control, so really they're the ones that need to be taking the fight to us, as they are doing here. Now, if they were to just sit back and do nothing, whilst we had better map control, really they would be starting to lose. So there you saw an epic Wizard Blast from Gandalf, but he's actually been killed. It might have been by Drauglin, it might have been by just some of these troops, but really Gandalf isn't that tanky, so you really need to look after him very well. And as you see there, Aronian lost him, which is quite unfortunate for him. Now, in the meantime, I was still over with Boran, when really I probably should have been over here trying to fight this thing. And actually, that is one of the reasons why, especially earlier on, I wasn't that great in team games, was my positional play wasn't that great. I wasn't really sure where to be at certain times. And if you saw my last 4v4, you could actually hear me thinking out loud about where I should be positioning my troops, because that is something so important in team games. Now, let's have a look here. This isn't my Isengard, this is Edgorn's Isengard. And this clump of Gondor cavalry is really why Gondor cavalry is so effective. Now, let's have a look over at Dany's Palantir, if we can find it. Here it is, 1,428 out of 1,650. Now, that is Gondor cavalry, full stop. He's got no infantry, he's just got cavalry, so 1,400 command points worth of cavalry is huge, and really that is what's killing most of the units in this game. And that's what's doing the most damage to our team at the moment, is just that insurmountable cavalry force where even if you've got pikes, it's still hard to counter them because they can just charge through. Now, in the meantime, I haven't been doing nothing. I've actually been attacking Iranian's outpost. So they tried to push Andres's outpost, and really their goal was to get and destroy Andres's outpost. So I could have either gone over to try and protect it, but I actually thought at this point it's probably unlikely that we're going to be able to protect it, especially if Iranian stays over there because of this huge clump of Gondor that he's got. So instead I decided to attack Iranian's outpost in the hope that he might come over and relieve pressure on Andres, and that is exactly what he's done. So as we see here, Iranian is moving over to the centre to try and protect his outpost, whilst I am trying to kill it. And I don't think I quite managed to get it down here, but I have done a lot of damage to it, and I've also eased a lot of the pressure on Andres and Fëanor over here. Now, it looks like Fëanor is moving back to his outpost to protect his investments. And really it's not looking that great for Andres at the moment. And oh my goodness, really it's not looking great now, because Dany once again has stormed into the base, and once again Andres has made the vital mistake of having all these economy buildings without towers to protect them, and huge damage. And really now, because he's got so many command points worth of cavalry, the damage is even more important, and it's even more devastating, and really a lot of his base is going to be destroyed at this point. Now, in the meantime, Boran on this side has rebuilt thanks to a lot of the pressure being eased off him, and he's taking a good fight to Dimitri over here. And because I was in the middle, I thought I've got an opportunity to come over and really start to try and deal more damage to Dimitri over here. And as we see, really it's so difficult to kill this clump of Gondor now. And once you have upgraded tower guards, and as many as upgraded tower guards as Iranian has in this position, really it is hard to do enough damage to them. So 108 command points, that's Andres. It's almost a complete switch of flanks now, where Andres is the Mordor who's really in trouble, and Boran is beginning to push more on his side. So really that is the feature of team games quite a bit, is that it's a bit of a push and shove, and here we see Fëanor pushing straight through into the middle to try and destroy Iranian's outpost. And really some of the damage that I did, he's now finishing it off, and he should be able to get the outpost because Dany is all the way over here. Iranian is all the way over here, and yes, Dany is here with this huge amount of cavalry, but Fëanor has got some of the best pikes in the game, Khondun pikes, that are also upgraded. So here we see a bit of an epic Isengard and Mordor combination of mine and Boran's, and we're just taking the fight to Iranian. Now this is a 2v1 situation. Dimitri is healing up in his base because really you need to keep your units alive as Imladris. So this is a 2v1 here, but it's a 2v1 against the amazingly tanky tower guards, so really it's not too big of a deal for Iranian to be in a 2v1 in this situation. However, Fëanor comes in with a poison that is that Angmar get to poison units, so really some more damage is being done here. But as we see, Dany has come in with his eagles, and that's going to start to do a huge amount of damage, especially because they do AoE, and because orcs are so vulnerable against AoE due to their very low health and their very low armor. So really a bit of an epic fight going on here, and it was a 2v1, and powers being used by each side to try and win the fight. And really the 2v1, Iranian is held out, thanks to powers by his allies, and also thanks to Dimitri coming in now to try and help him out a little bit. So let's have a look over here. Okay, so Adorn has got this outpost now, and really he's starting to fight back on this side. So it's beginning to look a lot worse for us. Whereas in the early game we had more of the map control. Now the map control is a bit more even, but also we have to be thinking at this point, what on earth are we going to do against all of these tower guards and all of this cavalry? And really, a lot of the time Danny and Iranian play extremely well together, because they do play together quite a lot. They're both German pros, and they both are very experienced in team games, and this is a prime example of how well they can work together. And just look at this clump of Gondor cavalry from Danny. Now here's my army over here, and I'm getting pushed back. I'm getting pushed back by the Eagles, and I'm getting pushed back from Dimitri, who's coming into his own again in this match with some upgraded Enlargers units. But really Dimitri, I believe, should have more units at this point, and he's just got too few units, from in my opinion, when really he should have as many as we all have. Now he is Imladris, so it's difficult to get and maintain units as Imladris, but perhaps a more defensive style would have benefited him. So look at this, in comes Danny's cavalry. Now I mean, honestly, what do you do? And the heal as well from Gondor, to just heal all of those units of cavalry, and he's just stopped. He's literally just pressed S here. He's not even in his OP formation. He's in the normal formation. He's just pressed S on top of all of the units, and really he's just decimating things here. He's decimating Boran's army, and he's decimating my army. Now I have got Saruman out here, and that epic wizard blast there knocked back all of those Gondor troops, but as you see, he only got to level 2, so it really didn't do that much damage. What did more damage, in fact, was the knockback rather than the actual damage of the move itself, because the knockback meant that they couldn't really defend themselves, and I could get some hits in with the pikes as well as from the halberdiers. Now look at this! Out of nowhere, Danny has got enough power points for Rohan and death, and oh my god, an epic fireball there from Saruman to try and fight back against this charge from Rohan, this Nubalinga's charge. And really it's not looking good for me and Boran over here on this side of the map, because the powers of Gondor, the late game Gondor is so good. The power points are excellent, and the cavalry is just so good. So really we're just hanging on by the skin of our teeth here. And let's just have a look over. Actually, I do think we are on, yes, we are on my Palantir. So you can see here, and at certain points in the game I was into the thousands in terms of command points, but really I've gone down to 573 here, and that's because of the huge amount of damage that all that cavalry and all that Imladris and all those powers are doing to me. Now here you see my Saruman has got to level 6 thanks to all the fighting, and both Danny and Dimitri have realised that my Saruman is here and he's on low health, and he's really getting chased down by all this cavalry, and he's getting chased down by Eowyn, and look at this, so low health, and Eowyn and Eowyn are chasing him down, and there he goes. And that's the end of Saruman for now, and I do have quite a lot of resources, so I could afford to buy him back, and maybe I did there, because there goes 3,000 resources. But let's focus on this epic fight going on for now, and out comes Shelob as well from Boran. Excuse me, I'm getting too excited. So really this is team games at its finest. So many different armies, and in comes Fëanor to try and help us out, because he must have realised that we were losing here. But let's actually go over, because look at how much cavalry Danny has now, whereas before it was a huge clump. And there's Iranian, there's Danny, so 432. So yes, he dealt a huge amount of damage to both me and Boran. Really, we've managed to get a lot of our units back. Or rather, we managed to do a lot of damage to him as well. So actually our command points are reasonably similar at this point. So all the time, every player is having to keep pumping out units, and the reason for that, apart from maybe the exception would be Iranian, because he's really keeping hold of his units because they're so tanky, but for everyone else, we're just having to continuously pump out units, and the reason for that is because we keep losing units, and the reason for that is because it's just constant fighting at this point in the match. And really, this is the point in the match where it's sink or swim for either team. This is the moment in team games where it really matters. About every fight matters, and really we need to start thinking about how we can do significant damage to our enemies. So a lot of damage has been done to each other, but really the decisive blow has not yet been landed. However, saying that, look at Edgorn's army, and this is a reason why leaving Isengard to kind of fester is so dangerous, because once they get their upgrades, once they get their heroes out, and I sent the beacon off here, as we see, to highlight to the rest of our allies that Andres is actually in quite deep trouble here. Now, an excellent move from Andres was to get the Eye of Sauron on this tower, and that gives all his other towers fire arrows, so that does just a ridiculous amount of damage to units, and really that might be enough to stave off this attack. We'll just have to see. Now, in the meantime, we're deciding to push more through the middle, and it's once again trying to kill some more of Iranian's army, which really, how are you going to kill a lot of that? And here we go, Iranian, he's still on 1,224 command points worth of soldiers. Now here's my army, and it's looking pretty meagre, it's looking pretty pathetic compared to a lot of other players, and really Danny's cavalry has done huge amounts of damage to me. So here we go, Boran's got a lot of his heroes out, and let's just have a quick, here we go, there's a Morgul Blade, and that is one of the most powerful things about Mordor is their Morgul Blades. Let's just have a look at the recharge time. Now people complain a lot about Haldir's Golden Arrow recharge time, but Morgul Blade is probably even worse in my opinion in terms of recharge time, and also so many different Nazgûl get it, as we see here. The Dark Marshal also gets it. So let's have a quick flick through the Palantirs, as we see somehow trying to get rid of some of these tower guards, and just like to have a little look at their health. Really, it's not going down. They've just got so much armor at this point. However, an excellent move there from Boran to, as you see, all of his orcs have gone purple for some reason. And the reason for that is because it's, oh, are we going to see an epic Wizard Blast here? I just about noticed that, and oh my goodness me. And oh my goodness me, the cavalry as well. And Rohan has answered the call as well, out of nowhere. And what's this? I think this might be, who is this? It's the Hobbits, and the Hobbits are overpowered as well in this game. And just look at this clump, and really, this is team game at its finest. It's just ridiculous, really. Look at the clump of things there. There's so many different units there. There's so many different heroes there, and an epic electric sword from Gandalf right into the middle of that clump. And oh my goodness me, Gorthar is coming out of nowhere now. So Boran has collected enough power points for himself to make Gorthar, and really Gorthar, as I've said before, is one of the most powerful heroes. Look at the knockback from his upgrade that he gets. And actually I believe that's the Breeze of Manwë used there by Dimitri, and oh my goodness me, something that I've missed. So it seems that Andres' fire arrows have staved off Edgorn for the time being. However, he's just decided to go right ahead and attack my base instead, because I'm nowhere near as well defended. However, I do decide to go for some steel bolts over here, and he's killed my Saruman. Now let's just go over back to this epic fight over here. So you see the fire of Gorthar is coming out as well. So everything is just being used to try and deal damage to these tower guards. But also there's the cavalry, and Dimitri's army is starting to build as well. It's the largest army, and here comes the last alliance of men and elves to fight against the evil Sauron, aka Gorthar. And really this is beyond epic at this point. So many different powers going off, so many late game units. Gil-galad is getting into the fight. And we're actually going to have to retreat here because there's just too much for us to deal with. And there's also a big danger of me losing, once again, a significant part of my base. However, Fëanor is coming in, and also Andres is coming in to try and save my base. Now, I've gone for all these steel bolts on my arrow towers as well. So really that's going to start doing huge amounts of damage to his army. So we're retreating here. The cavalry is coming in, and again, this is another reason why cavalry is so important, is because it almost stops the retreat of your enemy. Now, cavalry is not that great against a really well-formed army, a really strong army with lots of command points and lots of pikes. Really, that's where cavalry suffers. However, where cavalry really starts to shine is against weakened armies, where a lot of the pikes are dead and a lot of the units are retreating. Now, if you didn't have cavalry in that situation, your enemy might be able to retreat and suffer very few losses. However, if you've got cavalry, they can chase them down, and there really is no escape against cavalry if you've just got infantry. Now, in the meantime, Edgorn's attack on my base seems to have done a little bit of damage, but not that much. He went for the Citadel first of all, and that has meant that I am no longer available to access my powers. However, the damage to my base is actually quite insignificant. Okay, he's got this building here, which was upgraded, and he's got the Citadel. So here we see all of my powers grayed out, but he's lost almost his entire army from that. And also because I've managed to keep hold of these wargs, which I got very early on in the match, and now they're upgraded, I'm able to hunt down his heroes, just as Danny has been hunting down my army and my heroes on the other side of the map. So here's the rest of that battle going on, and still the army of the Last Alliance is here, having an epic fight. And Gorthar is in there somewhere. There he is, fighting against the largest units. And look at this, Gorthar level 9. Now, I haven't shown Gorthar level 10 before in my videos, or at least I can't remember that I have. But Gorthar level 10 is unbelievably powerful. Really, probably one of the most OP things in the game is Gorthar when he gets to level 10, especially when you consider this Tol'in Gorhoth, if I pronounce that correctly. I'm not very good on Lord of the Rings lore, so forgive me if I make some terrible mispronunciations, including Edain, which I know is supposed to be pronounced Edain. Anyway, so here we go. So that is it, really. That is the beauty of team games, is that a lot of the time they reach the late game, and really this is a perfect example of when team games are balanced, how fun they can be. Because if this was imbalanced, really one person would have died by now, and we would have been out of the game. Or at least one team would have been out of the game. So yes, in team games you very often get to the late game, and you very often get to see all of the beauty that the late game of Edain holds. All of the amazing level 10 hero abilities, all of the top tier powers. And here we go, it's another lull in the game. Is this the calm after the storm? Or is this the calm before the even more epic storm to come? Stay tuned to find out in this amazing episode of Edain by Noobfella. So, really, I'm just trying to get my command points back up here, is my main focus in this match. Now, I have been able to transition reasonably well into a late game Isengard, but the loss of Sauron twice has really set me back quite a bit as well, because I lost him earlier on, if you remember, against Eowyn and Arwen over on this side of the map, and I also lost him in the base rush, where I used him, kind of sacrificed him to convert some of his units to stop the attack on my base, or at least postpone the attack on my base for a little longer, whilst my allies came back to help me. So it's kind of a breather now, and actually I might take this opportunity to take a breather from the commentary and take a sip of my beer, because really I have been talking so much and I need to quench my thirst. So, here is a good example of a nice little bit of micro here. So I've used Lurtz to cripple Arwen, and then I've used my wargs to come over and try and kill her and try and surround her. And also the Eye of... what is it called? The evil eye of the Mouth of Sauron comes in and knocks her off her horse, and she has to jump back on it like that. But another great example of micro from Dimitri was to use this power, Light of the Evening Star, which induced fear in my wargs, so they were no longer able to attack her, and he saved Arwen from that. So two nice little clashes between me and Dimitri, as so often happens on this channel, where I thought I did pretty well to cripple her and surround her, but he just showed me that he's got something up his sleeve as well, and used that power. Now, here is Iranian's tank. And from now on, I'm just going to call it a tank, because really that's what it is. Iranian has taken the role of the tank in this game, whereas Danny has taken the role of the Blitzkrieg, where he's just running around the map, killing so much. And here Andres, once again, poor Andres, has just lost his entire army to the cavalry. And it's a 3v2 over here, but as we see, once again, Dimitri hasn't got that many command points worth of units. He's got some Lawmasters who are extremely good, but actual units, he hasn't got that many. He has got Arwen, who's an excellent hero as well, though. So it's almost a bit of a 3v1. Me, Fëanor, and Boran fighting against Iranian. And also there's a little bit of Dimitri thrown in there as well. And look at this, level 6 Veterans of the Last Alliance. Now that is cool to see. It's always nice to see the Veterans of the Last Alliance level up. I've never seen a Veteran of the Last Alliance at level 20 in an online game. And I am still looking forward to the day that happens. Now, as we see here, an epic catch Rogash just to kill off some of these rangers that Iranian has also invested his money in. as we see here, Gandalf is at level 7. Now let's have a look over at the rest of Iranian's troops, if we can, heroes, if we can actually find them. So Boromir is at level 7, so that's quite a nice level to be at. Beregond, it seems, is at level 10, and yes, he is. And now Beregond at level 10 is so excellent because he gives invulnerability to your heroes. So the invulnerability to your heroes, combined with the heal you get with Gondor, and also combined with the heal you get from Aragorn, or should I say King Elisar, because he's also got Aragorn to level 10. The heal you get from that, combined with the other heal, combined with the invulnerability, really is so huge at keeping your heroes alive. But having said that, down goes Gandalf, and that is... It could be a huge blow to Iranian, but really at this point, everyone's economy is so strong that he could just buy back that. And almost at this point, the more important thing is about getting experience for your heroes rather than keeping them alive. Of course, you have to keep them alive to a certain degree. You can't keep losing all of your heroes, otherwise you will lose the game. Now, Iranian, as we see, something scary has just happened in the top left-hand corner, and we fight. Oh, dear God, we fight. For Gondor! Boromir uses his level 10 by summoning these troops to flank my Isengard. In comes the Army of the Dead. Now, this Army of the Dead isn't actually Iranians. It seems that Dany has accumulated enough power points to get the Army of the Dead, as well as the aid of Rohan. And really, this is scary now, because Boromir has used the Horn of Gondor, and all of our units are feared. And in comes the Army of the Dead. And as I said before, using a fear ability and the Army of the Dead is such an excellent combo, because you just can't run away from them, and they're just so good at army killing that really what is going on now. And look at all the beacons going off. People are just saying, oh my God, what is going on? And in come the cavalry out of nowhere, and all these level 10 heroes who are now invulnerable thanks to Beregond. And really, I'm just becoming irrelevant in this match because all of my stuff just keeps dying, and it's horrible for me to be losing all this stuff against this Gondor. It's almost a bit of a good versus evil match if it wasn't for Edgorn's Isengard, because we're all evil factions and they're all good factions. So really that almost makes it even more epic. And here, you know, there's things that I'm missing at this point, because Mordor is having an epic fight against Imladris, which is another kind of lore-friendly battle. And here we go, coming in with the Army of the Dead, and really Fëanor has no option other than to run, and so do I. But running versus cavalry is once again one of the most difficult things you can do. And look at all these units, a lot of them are level 5, and this is an example where, okay, these are pikes, and these are unupgraded pikes, and really, once you have upgraded cavalry like this against pikes, really there is no killing them. And it looks like Dany, once again, is going for an attack on a base, and it looks like he's targeting Fëanor this time. In the meantime, it's not looking good for Boran and his outpost over here, because it's just pushed back all of our units, and it's actually killed a lot of mine and Fëanor's units. So really, it's going to be a lot more difficult for us to help defend Boran on that outpost. In the meantime, we've come over with some pikes. So although yes, Gondor cavalry are extremely good against pikes, obviously there's a limit. Still, the counter to cavalry are pikes, especially upgraded pikes. So Dany has to be a little bit careful not to lose a lot of his troops, as he did lose a lot of his troops a little bit earlier on. Now let's have a little cycle through the PowerPoints again and have a look over the map. Here we see, once again, there's just action going on all over the place. Isengard are pushing on Fëanor's outpost now, where Fëanor has been so careful to keep this outpost alive throughout the game. He's had to come over and help on other parts of the map, and it's allowed Edgorn to come in and attack his outpost, especially because Andres was so pushed back and so damaged earlier on, and in comes an epic avalanche to help protect Fëanor's outpost against Edgor's incoming Isengard versus Angmar, and income. Look at this. I mean, it's almost ridiculous. It's so hard to keep up with all this action, and really, this is team game at its finest. What this power is actually, I believe it's the Dark Marshal or the Shadow Lord, where the ability describes it as if you take one hit from an enemy, you die, but it also affects your allied troops. Now, I think it's actually bugged. I don't think it actually works, and in my opinion, it shouldn't work, because that sounds way overpowered. Imagine that as a Mordor versus Imladris. Anyway, moving swiftly on, in come the cavalry to destroy more of these orcs. So really, all the time, and this is something you should be focusing on if you're playing a team game and you're ally has gone for cavalry is really you should be looking to kill the pikes, because if your ally has cavalry, you kill the pikes, he can do all the rest of the work for you. And really, the pikes might not have even been focused in this game. They just might have been killed by this huge army clump anyway, and all the time Danny is taking the prime opportunities to kill. And look at his power points now. Really, he has just accumulated a huge amount of power points, and he's even got 8 here. And look at this, oh my goodness me, the fire of Gorthar, and also his epic Tol in Garoth fortress. And really, this is one of the most overpowered things in the game. This is kind of reminiscent of the early days of 3.8, where the team was, I think, looking to just make cool stuff and not all that focused on balance. Although, having said that, a lot of people would say that 3.8 is way more balanced than 4.4.1. Now, here you see, I'm actually over here trying to help Fëanor out, when maybe perhaps I should be over here. But thanks to this fortress that he's put up, that actually zaps enemies. It's like a Saruman's epic lightning blast that, as we see going off there. So really, this fortress, now it's here, and actually some of my units are over here. Once you have that up, really that is going to be an extreme defense against an attack on his outpost. So really his outpost is much more secure now that that fortress is up. And Danny, once again, he's got another 10 power points. He's already got his 2 top tier power points, so I don't know what he's going to spend all of those on. And in comes a Mumakil out of nowhere. Once again, Mumakil's out of nowhere in Noobfella's videos. And Danny, once again, has pushed into Boran's base. So yes, Boran's outpost is much more secure, but another mistake yet again. 3 times this has happened, where Danny has charged into someone's base, and they haven't got archer towers to defend it. So he's managed to do a huge amount of damage. And look at this already. This is why Mumakil are so good against cavalry, and they're so good against cavalry in the movie as well. And already he's on level 5, and I'm actually going to decide to call this Mumakil Freddy, because he features quite a lot in this game. So Mumakil Freddy, we'll see him a lot more as this game progresses. Now, in the meantime, we've got some eagles out. Now, whose eagles are that? They're either... they're actually Dimitri's. I was going to say they're either Iranians or Danny's, because they're the Gondors, but I forgot Enlargers also get eagles. So 3 chances of seeing eagles here. There's just so much going on. Now, in the centre, Fëanor has managed to push back Edgorn's attack, and Edgorn is going to have to rebuild. He's got out his Saruman for the first time, so that's good from him. Now, for my part, I've got Lurtz at level 10 here, and I must have some other heroes, but really it's so hard to focus even on myself in this match because so much is going on. And really this match isn't about me, it's about all the players involved in this match, because it really was one of the best matches I've ever played, as I hope you have begun to understand as we've been watching this game together. Now, really, the tank here, Iranian the tank, is just going ahead and continuing to tank and not losing any of his stuff, apart from the odd Gandalf every now and then, because his armour isn't that great. So once again a lull, once again another breather for me to take one more sip of my beer. And I don't know how long this video is going to be. I assume it's going to be a long time. I dread the amount of time it's going to take to render it. And really, for my part, I'm just building up, I'm just focusing, and really, you know that Isengard's got a good late game, especially when you get all the heroes out. So you know what you're doing with Isengard, and really every player has already decided on their strategy very early on. And now look at this. So we managed to push them back with big help from the fortress that Gorthar made here, and thanks to being able to push them back so much, and maybe a possible mistake from the tank to move back to his outposts, is that Dimitri's base became so vulnerable. There was just a little slight window of opportunity that we had as a team, me and Boran, to just think, actually, you know what, we've got a chance to really deal some significant damage. And as I said before, a lot of damage has been dealt all over the map all the time, but no real significant blow. But this may be that blow that one of the teams was looking for, because look at this now. My Isengard army is upgraded and it's doing quite a bit of damage to Dimitri's base. Now, if you can get rid of one of the players, and bearing in mind Dimitri hasn't got an outpost, so, and he also hasn't got a Linden Tower. Now, I'm not sure if Linden Towers keep you in the game, but whether they do or not, he hasn't got one, so it's irrelevant. But if we destroy his base here, Dimitri's out of the game. Now, with Dimitri out of the game, it becomes 4v3, and really, in team games, it's almost impossible to win once you're in a ally down. Now, the only exception to that is if you can deal such a huge damage to the 2 armies that are attacking a base, or the 1 army that's attacking a base, that you completely wipe that player out, and then you use your advantage to go and attack and get rid of one of their players. Now, in the meantime, we fight! They're back again, and really that is probably the most scary sound in the whole of BFME2, Rise of the Witch King, Edain, and any other mod under the under the planet of the sun. The planet of the sun? What am I on about now? I'm getting way too excited, because here come the army of the dead. Here comes Freddy the Mummikill. Here are the eagles. I don't know whose eagles they are, but they're someone's. And my army here doing quite a bit of damage to his base. And really, now, Boran is thinking, I need to get the hell out of here because the army of the dead is here. And really, he has the opportunity to get out of there, whereas I don't, because I'm trapped in this base. I can't escape. There's walls all around me. And look at this, the army of the dead. I think they actually climb onto Freddy there. And that is probably one of the most epic things I've ever seen. And I did not know that the army of the dead climb onto the Mummikills like that, like they do in the movies. That is so, so cool. Anyway, back to the game. If we can... Okay, so here's the situation. There's so many army of the dead here. The army of the dead is here, and they're so good at army killing that really it's becoming dangerous for me. Yes, I've done a lot of damage to Dimitri. If we don't kill Dimitri here, we're probably going to lose the match because we've lost way too much of the army. If you see here, the army of the dead has gone red. And what I actually did was use Lurtz level 10, which slows units. And I've actually used that to slow the army of the dead so that I've got the opportunity to run away from them, which is something I thought of on the spot, really. I'd never thought of doing that before, but it seems like it's actually worked out reasonably well. There goes that power of the Nazgul again, which I think is bugged. Now, a lot of these units are dying, but if we can kill Dimitri, as I've said before, it really is going to be huge for the enemy team and for our team. In comes Freddy at level 6, one of the only Mummikills I've ever seen reach level 6. And what's happening here? It doesn't look like the army of the dead has run out, and it doesn't look like they've done enough damage because Boran's also got his army coming in, and I've got enough of my troops left because Isengard units are so tanky, especially these tower guards. And I did use my ability, Unleash Isengard, to attack Dimitri's base, and really that is something that you should be thinking about doing in team games and in 1v1s, is really if you're going to go for a huge attack on a very specific target, you should really start to be thinking about using a lot of your powers all at once so that you can ensure that you do a lot of damage. Now, here is something that is quite overpowered in my opinion, Sandstorm, and it creates a hurricane around your building, and as you see all these units, they start flying off all over the place. However, Freddy is unaffected by it, and he's destroying this building, so once the building is down, that Sandstorm will be nullified. Now, the tank is pushing through the middle here, and he's going for the outpost, and in comes the cavalry again, and he's got his heroes back, and it looks like he's got Gandalf. That was a bit of a lucky click from me to get him right away, and he's level 9.5, and we all know what happens when Gandalf gets to level 10, and I do hope that we see some of those in this match, and I hope that I don't miss them if they ever do go off. Now, in the meantime, Freddy is doing so well, level 7 still, and it looks like there's going to be just about enough here for us to finish off Dimitri, and if we destroy his tower, he's going to die. And he does die. Dimitri is out of the game. The boy has died. And it's become a 4v3. But so it's excellent news for us. Really, is it GG? Well, you might say that it is. But really, how are we going to kill the tank over here in the middle? And how are we going to counter all of this cavalry? Look at how much cavalry Danny has got. And he's going in for another base rush. So what I believe was happening at this point with Iranian and Danny was they were working in conjunction. And the plan was for the tank Iranian to come in and destroy this outpost whilst Danny comes in and destroys this base. Now, if they can simultaneously destroy the outpost and the base, then Fëanor will be removed from this match. So we'll be back to even teams, a 3v3. Here we see Freddy survived. And Adorn is also doing his part by coming in and thinking about moving in for an attack on the bases. And poor old Andres over here has really suffered from a lot of attacks and a lot of team attacks. And he's actually suffering quite a bit in terms of command points. Nevertheless, all these pikes come in to try and attack the cavalry, and Danny actually decides that it's not worth the risk to put all of his cavalry in the base and then be blocked off by all of these upgraded pikes. However, the tank has done significant damage to the outpost here, and let's just have a look at this battle now, because this is once again another a brilliant example of an epic battle. And as Gandalf comes in here to try and fend off these orcs, which are attacking the rangers over here, he's getting some levels from that, and oh my giddy aunt, he's level 10, and we know what that means. It's word of power. In the meantime, I'm moving in with my army, and so is Boran, to come over to what we've realised is the main point of focus now, and that's the centre here. If we can win this fight, or if we can at least push back Danny and Iranian, then really we should be winning this match, because we just need to get rid of this attack, because if they do well in this attack, they've got a chance. If we manage to push this attack back, we can really start to cement our position and just win because we've got more people in our team. It's as simple as that. In the meantime, Edorn is attacking over here, and oh my goodness me, something epic is going on there. More Rohirrim, and I just don't want to miss the opportunity of seeing an epic word of power. Now, if it was me, I'd be waiting for all these orcs to come over. I'm assuming that is what Iranian is thinking himself, so we might have the opportunity to have a quick look over here to see what's going on. And Andres, once again, is really looking in trouble because of these Rohirrim, and also all of this Isengard that's coming over from Edorn. And look at it, the citadel is down. And let's have a double check here. We definitely haven't missed it, but the citadel is down, but it's not quite destroyed because we've got this one building and it's rebuilt. So really we're all focusing on the middle now, whilst Edorn is focusing on trying to get rid of his enemy in this match, which is Andres, and really that is an epic fight going on, and it's a bit difficult sometimes to decide which epic fight to look at any one point. So here we are, and it looks like he's doing reasonably okay, and the reason for that probably is because of the fire arrow upgrades that he's got on all of his towers. So I'm assuming here, although in comes that cavalry, I'm assuming that he's going to be reasonably okay, and I will focus a bit more on the fight in the middle here. Now, as we see, some more Army of the Dead come out, and this isn't the Army of the Dead summon, this is Aragorn's level 10 ability where he summons a ring of Army of the Dead around him, and it does help with killing heroes, and it also helps with trapping some of your army. Now, let's have a look. Really the cavalry over here is going to be doing huge amounts of damage to Andres' base, and Andres is really in trouble, but me and Boran are on this side of the map, and we've decided really to push the fight to the tank over here in the middle, because, I mean, Dimitri's out, and oh my god, here it comes. Servant sorcerer. Kerblamo. Kaplawi. Look at all of those units go flying back, and all of those dead orcs. Really, that is probably the most epic move still in this whole mod, despite all of the other epic stuff that happens. So now that we've seen that, and now that we see this fight progressing a little longer, you can almost predict what's going to happen. We're going to be able to push Iranian back, but he's not going to lose too much. So let's have a little more of a focus over here on Andres and his base, and we see that actually he is in some serious trouble here because the Rohirrim are here, because the upgraded cavalry are here, and because Edorn is here with his Isengard. Now, this is actually me, and I just want to apologise now from the bottom of my heart to Andres. This is very early on in the patch, just to try and rectify, or to try and make excuses for myself. It's very early on in the patch, and oops, I kind of bombed my ally into oblivion there. Noobfella, but it was very early on in the patch, and I'm sure in the last patch it didn't do that much damage to buildings. What I thought was I was going to kill all of his cavalry, but unfortunately I managed to do a slight bit of a mistake there and almost completely destroy Andres. Poor Andres, he's even getting killed by his own allies. Terrible, terrible behaviour there from me. But nonetheless, he's just about hanging in, and he's rebuilding his citadel. So really that is quite embarrassing from me to do that, and I've never done it since, and I do apologise, Andres, for doing that at the time. So that was the example that I was talking about, about how I didn't play well in this match and how I did some pretty huge blunders, and that was one of them. But nonetheless, it did actually do quite a heavy damage to his cavalry, and also it did quite a bit of damage to Edorn's army here. So yes, Andres, I'm sorry, but you lost a lot of your buildings, but it may have been even in the damage that it did to the allies. That being said, I'm never going to do it again. So anyway, moving swiftly on from that, and it's looking like poor Andres, now that this battering ram is coming into the fray on this citadel, and look how low health that battering ram is, and really this is one of those amazing examples where something that's so close, really if that battering ram had been killed, maybe he would have survived a little bit longer. But there goes Andres, and sorry Andres, I was partly responsible for your death there, but nevertheless, in I come. I've got a lot of heroes, a lot of them are level 10, and really now Danny has to retreat here because I've got a lot of pikes as well, and they're upgraded pikes, and if he doesn't retreat here I could get rid of his entire cavalry army. However, by him retreating, he's kind of left Edorn vulnerable here, and this is exactly the situation that I was talking about earlier when we were attacking Dimitri's base, was that yes, they've destroyed Andres, and yes, it's a 3v3 now, but they suffered so much damage from doing it, in big part to the fire archers on the towers. So now I've used my speed boost with Ugluk, and I'm actually just going to start chasing down all of his army. And if I can really get rid of Edgorn's army here, then we're once again back in the lead. Here is Freddy, still making it through, level 9, almost level 10. I've never in all my life seen a mummy kill last this long and get so much experience. Good old Freddy. And in the meantime, the tank is suffering quite a bit of damage. And really, probably Mordor is one of the best factions that you can have to combat the Tower Guards, because they have so many debuffs that, yes, the armor is huge for the Tower Guards, and yes, it's huge thanks to Boromir as well, but if you debuff it, the leadership, at least from Boromir, is reduced, and their armor in general is reduced from the Nazgul and from Sauron's ability. So here you see, really, I just clear up a bit of Edgorn's army here, and really it looks like he's in trouble. And Boran has pushed through the centre, and he's gone for Minas Morgul. And look at this, Iranian has been surrounded, but once again, another chant of death, and either Danny or Iranian here has summoned Rohan to come to his aid, and look at the damage that they do to orcs, and look at all of those +2s. That is the power of Eomer at level 3, and he is summoned at level 3 for Gondor. Is the amount of resources you get just from killing stuff. And in comes Freddy to try and lend his hand to the fight, and in the meantime, I've killed almost all of Edgorn's army over here, and Danny has had to heal up a bit, but now he's back with his cavalry, and oh no! Freddy! Our mate Freddy! He's dead! Rip Freddy! 2016, I think this game was played. Anyway, and really, the tank, it seemed like he's had some AT damage from Mordor, and really a lot of his units have died. And there goes Boromir. Once again, Sean Bean dies. And however, Aragorn is still alive, Gandalf is still alive, but he's lost so many of his Tower Guards there. So really, that is a huge setback for Iranian in this position. Now, Danny has, for his part, managed to rebuild. Now, a lot of these are still low health because I think they've regened more than healed by a well. So, once again, regenning doesn't heal units. It only replaces a unit of the battalion. So it's actually looking like we're getting a bit more of a concrete position here. And after such a long game, such a well-fought game, such an epic game, it's looking like it's beginning to fall more and more into our favour. Dimitri's out of the game. Yes, Andres is out of the game. But it's almost like Edgorn's out of the game as well now, because he's got no army left. Because I managed to kill it off with that speed boost. And also, Iranian has almost no army left because of the combined attack of Gondor and Angmar in the middle. Now, Danny still has all this cavalry, but once again it's low health, so it might not be as tanky as it would be under ideal situations. And Boran has got Grund, and we can see how here in this game how effective Grund really can be. So for my part, I'm just building up at this point, and really I probably should be over here fighting, but I was probably still kicking myself over killing Andres. So I'm just building up, and I'm starting to think about taking the fight to Edgorn, while these two kind of fight each other out over on this side of the map. And another thing to note is that really I do believe that our team is winning in this position over on this side of the map, especially because we've got this outpost now, so that really it's not a necessity for me to come over and help, and really it might actually be more beneficial to go over and try and take the fight to Edgorn. So, here we go. Grund, and Minas Morgul. And I'm sure he'll be getting the Witch King out soon, and upgrading the Witch King. And really, because Sauron is level 10, the Nazgul are so effective, the Witch King is so effective, and just late game Mordor in general is so good. Honestly, it's one of the best late game factions if you can get there, and if you know how to play them well in the late game. So, I've just been grabbing all this area of the map, so I've been taking over all of Port Andress's plots over here, so I can get even more economy. How selfish of me. I am the origin of life, the devourer of death. Gorthar has come back. So it's obvious that Boran did lose Gorthar in one of the many epic fights, that he did lose him, but he's back again, and he can resummon Tall Ingoroth. But I think actually Boran probably made a mistake, because he's still got this one that was the first one, and actually you're only allowed one on the map at a time. So really, if you want to have the fortress in a new place on the map, you first have to delete this one and then summon it somewhere else. So that's something that you should think about if you're playing Mordor and you get to that extreme late game with them. Now here you see, I did decide to go for an attack on Edorn. However, he actually had quite a sizable army, and more than I was expecting, because he managed to rebuild quite quickly. And also in comes Dany with all of his cavalry. Now I have got some pikes, but it might not be quite enough. So really, I'm in quite a bit of trouble here, and I'm at risk of losing my entire army. But in the meantime, really we're starting to secure the mid here, and Iranian for his part is trying to build up. He's trying to get all of his units back, and really that huge attack on him really did suffer him quite a bit, and it suffered his team quite a bit as well, because really he's had to take a step back for a while and rebuild. And that's another feature of team games, where if you do enough damage to someone, sometimes they're out the game for a little bit and you can make more advances elsewhere, as we see Boran epically doing here as he comes in with a Grand to try and attack Dany and to try and finish Dany off. However, my army has been completely obliterated by the combination of Edorn, who's got his own back for me killing his army a little earlier, and Dany's cavalry. So there goes my alerts. I did use Carnage to kill a few of his cavalry in the meantime, and I've got some pikes out, but really one unit of pikes just isn't enough. Here is Dany's first Gandalf of the match. So as you can see, he's got absolutely no experience, so he must have only just recently bought him. So really that shows how much of a focus Dany had on cavalry. And this isn't actually Dany's usual tactic with Gondor. It's actually, if you know the player Zero, often that is really Zero's tactic to use a lot of cavalry. And many times he's used exclusively cavalry in his games when he plays Mordor. Look at that Grand. Just one hit in the Citadel, and really Dany is in huge trouble now. And yes, Iranian has built up, or built back up I should say, and he's got his Gandalf back out, who's going to be huge, and he's got all of his heroes back out in fact. But he hasn't quite come in time, and now that Grund is inside Dany's buildings, and it's kind of, the buildings are protected by all of these orcs and all of these pikes, so Dany can't run in with his cavalry without suffering huge losses to his pikes. Really that is dangerous now that Grund is in there, and really how do you counter Grund once he's in there and you can't get in there to fight him? In comes Shelob. In the meantime, Edorn is pushing on my base, and here another epic fight, another 2v1. So many 2v1s of Iranian versus Boran and Fëanor in this match. And there we go, the Morgul Blade on Gandalf, I think it was. And really Gandalf is the one hero that you want to be trying to kill. Actually, I don't know if that hit more than one. Seems a bit bizarre. Oh, that must have been the web that's hit more than one hero. So a real big hero clump there, and he's actually used the fire on it. That's quite excellent play there to see that clump, target it, and then hit it with the fire. Really, I've never seen that before, and I didn't realise that happened in this game. So in comes Dany to try and save his base, but really, Grund is just going to clear up here in the base because it's so good. And once again, Servant Sorcerer, as Gorthar also gets flown back by Gandalf the White. So epic. And for Gondor, Boromir, his last epic fight, and Edorn once again going for an attack on my base. And I think I had Saruman there to convert his army once again, or that might have been the mouth of... Oh no, it couldn't have been the mouth of Sauron. Andros is out of the game. So it must have been my Saruman converting his army there, and looks like Edgorn's base push there isn't going to do enough. And in the meantime, Grund has destroyed Dany's base. So is he out? And oh my goodness, almost missed the epic avalanche as well. So really, there's so many big army killing powers shown in this game. The Word of Power, the Avalanche, the Army of the Dead, and really team games. I mean, honestly, they can be so epic, as we see here. But as we see, Dany's base has been destroyed. However, he's still in the game, and he's actually got a ranger tent here, and that's the reason why he's still in the game. And we knew that he must have something like that, and actually he's got two here. So I didn't notice this one. I did notice this one, and I went over to destroy it. Anyway, let's get back to this fight so we don't miss too much. And some more epic wizard blasts going off, and look at all these heroes, invulnerable. You can't kill them. It's literally impossible to kill them at this point. And the Army of the Dead that is summoned by Aragorn is cleaning up a lot of Fëanor's army here. And really they're actually starting to push back a little bit. This is Iranian and Danny I'm talking about here. They're starting to push back in the middle, and that push and that destruction of my army by Edgorn and Danny really has started to it really has pushed me back quite a lot as well. But the thing is, Danny's base is destroyed now, so if I can destroy this ranger tent and this ranger tent in time, and we can get rid of Danny, really that is GG for them, because once it's 3v2, really I don't see how they're going to destroy one of our bases. And it would just be over if Danny left this game. Edgorn is still in the game. Edgorn played extremely well in this game, and I don't think he's really that experienced. And really it shows that in team games in particular, even if you're not that experienced in the game, you can still play excellently. And Edgorn amazingly held his own against all of these players. I mean, it's no surprise that he held his own against me because, you know, a giant noob. So there we go. And really, the focus now is killing Danny for our team. So I'm killing the ranger tents, and really his focus is to build his base back again, because he can't survive on ranger tents forever. And let's have a look at his money here. So he's got 2,600. He's got enough to build the camp back, and Grond moves away from the camp, and it allows Danny to move in and rebuild his base. So Danny's base is back, and he's got all of his powers back because of that, and Gondor powers are so powerful. So really it might have been a better idea for Boran or perhaps Fëanor to kind of camp out of this base to ensure that he didn't rebuild. And I could have killed these two ranger tents, and that would have been it for Danny. Nevertheless, has he got enough to defend himself? Has he got enough to defend himself against, I think that was the Witch King who used the Hour of the Witch King, then knocked back all of his units. And it looks like Gorthor has been killed again. And an epic cloud break, fearing all of these units. And also Iranian has built up, so once again it's becoming unclear as to who's going to win. But I think probably Grond is going to clutch it for us here, because it's so effective, and it actually knocks back even cavalry. It's like it's trampling cavalry. And as I've said before, the power of Grond's knockback and trample is so effective. So Boran simply moving back into the base and starting to destroy Danny once again. Now once he gets rid of this citadel, Danny is no longer available to his powers. So as we see, Army of the Dead is nearly back. The Eagles are nearly back. If he can get these back, they can push more. But there we go. It's gone. And now it's looking really bad. Now I'm beginning to destroy the last Ranger tent. And really 2 hits is all that's needed for Danny to be out of this game. As we see here, an epic fight. And there we go. Danny is out of the game. So really at this point it is GG. To me now, I do believe there is no coming back. Edgorn needs to pull something crazy out of the bag to destroy my base. And even if he did destroy my base, I could simply make a Wildman hut somewhere else on the map and stay in the match and keep my army alive, and that would be still enough to win this game for us. So really, really quite epic game. One of the best games I've been involved with, and really thank you to all the players who played this game with me, and I'm sure that you enjoyed it as much as I did at the time. And really, this is one of the games that, you know, really makes you feel like Edain is one of the best games ever made, even. Like, I mean, it's one of the best strategy games, in my opinion, at least. But it's also just an all-round excellent game, even outside of the genre of real-time strategy. So it's almost a case of a bit of a meticulous, slow grind down now, because once again we're in the position where we know we're winning. We know that time is on our side, and really the only way for Iranian and Edgorn to win in this situation is to pull something crazy out of the bag. And really now time is of the essence for them, and the only way that they will be able to win now is to launch an attack on someone's base and kill them. But really I don't see that happening now. Just because they haven't got that many units, and because really we're in such a strong position. As we see here, Saruman, I used the convert army, and that is one of the best powers in the game as well, to convert all of his army, and you can even target Saruman with that. And as we see Saruman going down, and some epic trades of wizard blasts and fires, and another fireball coming out from my Saruman. So epic Saruman battle there, and Edgorn Saruman dies in the end, and my Saruman lives on. Now Boran simply, because Edgorn is outside of his base now, and he's over here trying to do something, and as we see, Fëanor comes in to flank him, and really, it's just looking terrible for our enemy team here, and really, you can say now that this is GG for them. Edgorn's lost all of his army. Edain has quite a sizable army still, but once we get rid of Edgorn, because once again Grund is so close to his base, once we destroy Edgorn, really you can't win a 3v1, no matter how good you are. And Edain is an excellent player, but even Edain can't win a 3v1, as long as we don't bomb each other. Like that would ever happen. Anyway, moving on. He's destroying the outpost, Fëanor. So a little similar to the combined Edain and Dany push earlier on in the match, where this time Fëanor attacks the outpost while Boran attacks the base. But in this case, I do believe that it's going to work effectively for our team. And really, here we go. Edgorn has come in with a summon Isengard Unleashed to try and a last valiant effort to try and destroy my base. But really, he's only got troops in this army. He's got no siege, so really there is no problem for me at this point. And actually I can just sit Saruman here with my army and just level up Saruman. Once he gets to level 10, if you didn't know, this Thunderbolt is one of the best abilities in the game as well. So really it was a bit of a disappointment that I didn't get him to level 10 earlier on, as there were so many other level 10 heroes in this match. However, you may have the opportunity to see it a little later on, as we move in to strike the final blow against Edgorn. And soon, as Edain must know at this point that his doom is impending, and really he can do nothing but wait for his own death, prepare for another epic battle to finish off this epic match, and save up his powers and use them all at once and see how long he can survive. So I think it's only fitting to, at this point in the game, move over to, and if we can actually find it, here it is, Edain's Palantir, to just see how well our friend Edain is getting on, knowing that he's going to die. And actually, he doesn't sit around in his base. An epic last push, ride out with me, for wrath, for ruin, as he goes to destroy Minas Morgul. And he'll actually destroy Minas Morgul, funnily enough, even though it is a 3v1 at this point because Edgorn has been defeated. He will destroy Minas Morgul because all the other armies are over, killing Edgorn's base. So really, excellent play from every player in this match. And this is why team games can be so good when they're balanced, and when there's so many good players playing against each other. Once again, epicness, just all-round epicness. The flying Fellbeast, ridden by the Witch King, screeching, and oh my god, look at that, I forgot about that as well. Gandalf, excellent there, used the Istari light on the Witch King, but he manages to survive, and actually if you change his mount, he heals up, as we see there. And like, Rogash, this is mine actually, once again, bombing, even, I think, is that me? I think I bombed myself even to just top it all off, but I also do huge amount of damage to all of these tower guards there, so that was a much more effective use of those bombs. Look at this, even Faramir level 10, you hardly ever see that in games, a Faramir level 10, or at least I hardly ever see it. And, what else could top off this game? I don't know, maybe a word of power? That would also be excellent. So, I'm sure we'll see another, and as I say that, he waits till the Mordor comes, because really, what's better than giving Mordor power to Mordor? And, oh my god, so much death. What can men do against such reckless hate? Such reckless MLG from Edain here. What can men do against such MLG? But, in the end, it's all in vain, because really, King Elisar stands around his circle of Oathbreakers as they have one last epic stand, and the eagles are summoned as if it was the movie. But really, the faith of men is failing. There will be a day when the faith of men will fall, and it will be this day, and it will be this game. Although he does still have the army of the dead to summon, one last trick up his sleeve, and he's saved Cloudbreak to fear all of our units at the same time. And actually what he might be thinking at this point is to let us all get into his base, and which is actually probably a good idea. Let us all get into his base, then summon the Army of the Dead, because that is something that you should be thinking about in a team game as well, if you ever play team games, is that if someone goes for a base rush on you, and you or your ally has the Army of the Dead, you should wait for that base rush, then summon the Army of the Dead outside, because they get trapped by these walls, and the only escape is out into the Army of the Dead. So anyway, let's just relax. And I actually managed to miss Thunderbolt there from me, but I can summarise it for you as a giant Thunderbolt that comes down and kills everything. And by everything, I mean everything. That includes fully upgraded Tower Guards and fully upgraded Dwarf units. Really no unit stands taller than the might of the Thunderbolt from Saruman. So here we go. Still, he's holding back on the Army of the Dead. And actually, he look at this, Rohan is almost back as well. So he might use a double combination or a triple combination. There goes the Army of the Dead. I'm sure Rohan answers will come when he gets it. The fortress is back because Gorthar is back, and he's killed Beregond. And Sean Bean will fight to the end. I'm sure you will. And it's only a matter of time for Rohan to come. And actually we see here that remarkably, Iranian puts up such a great fight against in a 3v1, even with the Witch King bearing down on him and Lurtz and all of our units. And here comes Rohan to rally to the call of Gondor, who are in need. And Rohan must know, surely they must know, King Theoden must know that it's hopeless, but they ride for wrath, they ride for ruin, they ride to their own deaths to help fight against the oncoming tide of evil against Gondor in this match. And just epic, just honestly epicness all over. Cloudbreak comes in, all of our units are afraid of the sun for some reason. There's much more important things to be afraid of, like all of those cavalry, but nope, the sun does it for them. And here we are, Elisar, he's still hanging on in there. Gandalf is going to be coming back, probably looking for another word of power, but it looks like the citadel is going to be destroyed before that. And look how much stuff Iranian has killed all by himself, thanks to all of the so strong powers and so strong abilities of his heroes, that really all of our army has been destroyed here. And I don't think we're actually going to have enough, even to destroy the citadel maybe, although maybe that will go down, but certainly not enough to destroy the base as of yet. However, even if he survives this, and there goes the citadel, even if he survives for just a little longer, he knows that it's all over. And really at this point, he's just fighting for the fun of it. And really, this match deserves to have a nice clean ending like it does here, where everybody fights to the last. So in comes Boran's Orc Spam. I'm sure Grund is somewhere. There he is. Grund is taking his time to get over. But once Grund gets into the base, there's nothing you can do. Once again, Gorthar is nearly killed. So yes, Gorthar is one of the best heroes, but he's not unkillable. And really, it's not that difficult to kill him, actually, as we see there, if you target him and you focus him down, and especially if your enemy doesn't micro him well. So here we see Grond is going in by the side passage, just knocking down the door and going in. But it looks like even the Orc Spam at this point is enough. And as we see, there is the Thunderbolt, and it actually does reasonable damage to buildings as well. And look at these fire arrows against Saruman. Rip. Rip. Rip Saruman. GG. And yes, that's it. And look at this as well. The Black Knights of Angmar. How many times do you see those in a game? And that can mean only one thing, that Fëanor has collected enough power points to get the stronghold of the Witch King. So, oh, wrong base. So that's it. It's GG. One of the best games I've ever played, and I'm sure the people who played it would agree, and I hope you would agree as well. And look at this, werewolves of Gorthar's werewolves have come out as well, and he's pumping a few of them out. I'm sure you've probably never seen those in a game. Certainly, I hardly ever see them. And that's it. That is what it's like when you have a balanced team game. And obviously, it's not always like this when you have a balanced team game. But this is an example of how good team games can be when they're balanced, and how good games in general can be when every player involved is very good, as they were here, with the possible exception of me. And So here we go. One tower remains in Iranian's base, and Grond is going to get the final blow, surely, to make it the most epic ending of all time. And oh, okay, he missed. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It was epic nonetheless. And what's this? The game's not over? What? Maybe the comeback is on. Maybe this is why I said it was so epic, because there's going to be an amazing comeback of an epic 1v3 win from Iranian. Well, on second thought, with Grond heading towards his only remaining building, the Ranger tent, really there is no chance for him. And of course, we all know there's no chance for him. And this is it. It's the end. But Iranian does not give up. And actually, I noticed this, and as you see, Faramir has mounted his horse, and I'm desperately sending beacons off to my allies and sending beacons in front of Faramir so that by the time they look, they see him. And because I was just really worried, like, look how much money he's got. I was worried that he was just going to grab like 2 more bases and it was going to stretch the game on longer. Now, as soon as Grond hits that building, really that will be too much for him. And as we see there, it's destroyed. And Faramir dies. Sharku didn't kill him, he just died. So, that's it. And phew. I mean, it was a lengthy game. It was a lengthy commentary for me. But really, as I've said so many times, one of the best games that I've ever been involved with. And thank you to all the players for playing that game with me. So I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope to see you around in my videos, watching my videos, and also playing with me, playing Edain. You know, I'm welcome for anyone to join my games, so that we can share together how great this game is. So, thank you for watching. If you've made it to the end of the video, congratulations, because it was somewhat of a arduous watch, I assume, because it took a bit of stamina to play that game, it took a bit of stamina to commentate over it, and I'm sure it took a bit of stamina to watch the whole thing from beginning to end. But I'm sure you'll agree that it was rewarding nonetheless. So, thank you for watching. And goodbye from me.